Welcome to the Coffee Lab. Today we're packing a Pavoni lever machine and looking at all the risks involved. First step, remove all the loose parts. Anything that can come off, comes off. First, this goes. The steam wand must be removed. If you leave it on, it will bend inside the box. On the newer models, you just lift it up like this and slide it out, and you set it aside. If you have the older version with the fixed steam wand, that's not an excuse, you cannot leave it there. If you don't remove it, it will bend. Just the pressure against the packaging will bend it inwards. So to remove it, you need a 16mm branch or an adjustable spanner. The important thing is don't use pliers or improper tools. If you absolutely have to, at least make sure you protect the knot with a cloth. This is because you don't want to scratch it. You will not find this knot at the hardware store. If you scratch it, it's gone. You're lowering the value of the machine. So you treat it with respect. Just unscrew it and you finish by hand. Done. You set it aside. Now we are back to the machine. The next step is removing the lever. See how much it sticks out? So this extra means empty space in the box that you will have to fill with padding just to keep the machine from moving. See, for one lever you're adding almost 15 extra centimeters or more of padding. It's not good. But here's the real secret of good packaging. It's not about how much padding you use. It's more about how still the machine is inside the box. The machine must not be able to move around freely. The main danger point, as we will see, is the steam knob. So removing the lever is easy. You take off these small retaining clips. You can use the tip of a screwdriver, although sometimes your fingers are enough, so you try first, like in this case. Now let's pretend this one is harder to remove. Fingers are not enough. So ideally you should press both sides at once. I actually recommend using something flat and wider so you cover the entire clip, like both tips. Be careful that the clip doesn't spring off. It happens many times. So you keep your fingers in front of it. You press until you reach the pin. Then you cannot go any further. So you just hold it, and then probably comes off just with your fingers, or otherwise you can use some kind of pin or a small screwdriver, and it will come off. Then you slide out the pins. You leave the clips on the other side. There is no need to remove them. So just 2 pins and the lever comes free. Make sure you don't lose this roller. For example, we'll place it here. You could reinstall the pins into the lever to avoid losing that. But then the person who receives the machine would have to remove the clips again, and this is not ideal. On the other hand, reinstalling them gives helpful clues for reassembly, I think. So it's up to you. I usually put the other pin back in here because even though this is not very reasonable, without any pin, the piston could slightly rotate into the chamber, and then whoever tries to reinstall the lever might struggle a little bit. So I just put it back. It makes a hint and also prevents this from happening. So the portafilter sticks out a bit. You can remove it or leave it on depending on your specific box. Also, depending on your specific box, you might also need to remove the boiler cap. In my case, we need to remove it. So let's look at the box. Ideally, it should be sturdy, at least double walled. Remember, the machine must not move, so a small box is actually better than a larger one. If the machine can somehow move inside, that's really bad. That's really bad. You don't want to do it. So the dimension I use are roughly 23 centimeters wide, 33 centimeters high, and 32 centimeters deep. That's the standard format I found. In inches, that's about 12 by 12 by 9. As you can see, the machine fits perfectly. Just enough room for a little bit of protection. You don't need to overdo it. The key is stable protection and doesn't shift. In this case, the height is barely sufficient, maybe even slightly tight. What I do is place a foam sheet at the bottom, leaving some extra materials so both the back and the front of the base are protected. We'll deal with the sides next. Now, what's the real danger with these machines? Let's get to the point. I have personally received many damaged machines in transit. I would say at least 4. If this area takes a hit, it creates a lever effect and bends the boiler inwards. Sometimes there is no remedy to that. The boiler wall is about 1 millimeter thick. It's really thin. So it doesn't take much leverage to bend it, and this is more than enough. At that point, the machine can be effectively ruined for good. Even if repaired, it will never get back to the original shape. You will always see something wrong there. Again, this has happened to me many times. As you can see, the machine already moves very little, which is what we want. The front and back are protected at the base. Now we must focus on the steam knob. That's the real bad boy. Now, center the machine as much as possible and keep the knob away from the edge. Take another piece of padding. Wrap around the boiler so it's kept distant from the back of the box, and fold the foam here to add some thickness and stability. In this case, I need extra padding because once the box is closed, I don't want anything shifting around. Now it's very unlikely that a blow will reach the steam knob. Foam is ideal because it absorbs impact. Paper is not the same. Bubble wrap is okay if you have a lot of that, but nothing is as good as foam. The padding must be tight inside of the box, so that things cannot start shifting around once is sealed and starts to move around. Here the machine is actually slightly taller than the box, but that's the size I found. It's not ideal, like an extra inch would have helped, but in a way I also consider this as an advantage, because when you close and tape the box, the machine gets compressed slightly and cannot really move inside of the box thanks to that. Of course, if somebody stacks weight on top, it's a bit risky. Now we secure the power cord. We just don't want it flopping around. Then we start placing the accessories in. If you have leftover padded envelopes from the past, these are ideal. Just put the drip tray in one of them, place everything in front where there is space. In another envelope, put the cap. The lever could stay bare, but you can actually wrap it lightly in some bubble wrap in case, just to avoid it touching the boiler directly. Now the steam one goes in this bag. Make sure it doesn't bend. This is one of the most delicate parts after the steam knob. The portafilter is relatively heavy, so protect it and make sure it cannot strike the boiler. More than protecting the portafilter, you have to protect the rest from the portafilter, so that's why you're actually wrapping it. Check that everything is inside, don't forget anything outside. Don't forget the pins and the clips of the lever, the roller, any accessories you might have. Just checking. But clearly we need something on top as well, just to prevent the machine from going up and down or rubbing on the top. The important thing is that we must make sure that the parcel, when it's closed, is tight enough so nothing can move. Like the padding is there and must stay there. It must be under pressure, in other words. Now it's just about closing the box properly, which means that the tape must be tight. You just reinforce the central areas where the stress is the greatest. You don't want the box to open mid-transit, but at the same time you don't need to exceed with tape. It's pretty useless to exceed. So now you shake the box. You should not feel the machine moving. Accessories might shift slightly, that's fine, but the machine needs to be solid, steady inside of the box. I also like to mark the box orientation, so I write top on the top and put arrows on all the other sides, so hopefully some mindful postman will just follow the arrows when there is an option. It's not a critical thing, but it's actually better if the machine rests on its feet. Also, adding a band of tape around the sides increases rigidity, and in this case I'm using a fragile tape just to signal. And that's it, ready to ship. So the difference between a properly packed box and an amateur one can mean the difference between a machine arriving intact or arriving damaged, sometimes beyond repair. That's why I think this is really important. Also, when you are the one who was receiving the machine, it's actually wise to film the unboxing. I have received many machines with bent boilers, like I said, and you can always have a dispute, especially if you ask explicitly before to mind the steam knob, pack carefully. But anyway, if you buy via eBay or other services, you might actually be able to get a full refund if you have evidence that the item was damaged in transit. So it's actually wise to film the unboxing, or at least to take pictures. Now, if you really want to do things properly, like the next level, instead of overprotecting the steam knob, you can just remove it. Just the knob, not the whole unit. You only need a 14mm wrench. You loosen the nut here until it comes completely off the threads. And then you unscrew the knob fully. One note: sometimes you will feel resistance partway through, like the knob feels completely stuck or very hard. You don't panic, that's just an old gasket. You're not breaking anything. Just keep turning firmly, even if it feels like properly stuck. You just force it, and at some point it will continue until it comes off. That's because occasionally the seal deforms and catches in the threads, but it's designed to come off. You're not really breaking anything. Don't be intimidated. And I'm gonna end with an interesting idea. Look at this. So if you put a spacer between the boiler and the steam unit, and it's something rigid like a piece of wood, so not like the picture, then even if the knob gets hit, there is no room for any leverage. I don't think I'm just crazy obsessed about this thing. It's something serious, and sometimes it's really a shame to post a machine maybe from the 70s, 80s, which is pristine, and just gets damaged, and there is no real repair to this. So please make sure you pack your machines carefully. Thank you.